ఇంటర్మీడియట్ విద్యారంగంలో అగ్రగామి మన ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్. ఐఐటి, జేఈఈ అయినా, నీట్ అయినా తిరుగులేని విద్యా సంస్థ ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్.
So the new chapter is stoichiometry. Stoichiometry is calculation of reactants and products in a chemical reaction in chemistry. So it is based upon certain laws. So we'll start one by one. First one, laws of chemical combination. So before going further, first we have to know what are these laws and what they explain. So the first one is law of conservation of mass. Law of conservation of mass. It is proposed by Lavoisier. So what it explains? According to this law, mass can be neither created nor destroyed. Mass can neither be created nor destroyed. Our interest is in chemical and physical changes. What happens in physical and chemical changes? If mass can neither be created nor destroyed, that means in a process, that is chemical process or a physical process, the mass must remain constant throughout the process. Mass of the system must remain constant, or mass of the system is conserved. So let us take one example. For example, let us consider an imaginary reaction. Reactants are converted into products. R is reactant, P represent product. I am taking some imaginary reaction where reactants are converting into products. So initially what we do, before starting the reaction, we have only reactants. We will measure the mass of the reactants. We know the mass of the reactants, we can weigh. So we have started the reaction. Initially there will be no products, but as the reaction proceeds, reactants are converted into products, due to which the mass of the reactants decreases whereas mass of the products increases. Right, here there are two possibilities. The reaction can be 100% completed, or the reaction may be partially completed. Right, so let us apply law of conservation of mass for both the case. Case 1, if reaction is completed, that means 100% completed. What is the meaning of that? All the reactants are converted into products. There are no reactants left over. So if law of conservation of mass is correct, if mass is conserved, then the total mass of reactants before reaction, whatever the mass we are taking before the reaction, must be equal to total mass of products formed after the reaction. So that is the meaning of law of conservation of mass. Still we have one more case. What is that? Case 2, if reaction occurs partially, is incomplete. What is the meaning of that? Some part of the reactant, some portion of the reactants are converted into products. So if that is the case, some part of the reactants are converted into products, some part of the reactants left unreacted. So in that case, initially we have only reactants, so total mass of reactants before reaction must be equal to mass of leftover reactants, that means mass of unreacted reactants plus mass of products formed. So this is a condition for a chemical reaction. Law of conservation of mass. Mass can be neither created nor destroyed. So in a physical or chemical change, mass is conserved. So in a chemical reaction, we have taken two possibilities: when reaction is completed, when reaction is incomplete. Right. Now, coming to important point, this law is not applicable for nuclear reactions. So this law is not applicable to nuclear reactions. What is the meaning of this? In a nuclear reaction, energy and mass are interconvertible. Mass can be converted into energy, energy can be converted into mass, as explained by Einstein equation, E is equal to mc square. Since mass is converting into energy, right, in this equation we are not considering energy, therefore sometimes mass may be increased or mass may be decreased. Hence this is not applicable for nuclear reactions. So let us do a problem. 3.4 grams of silver nitrate in 100 grams of water when mixed with 1.17 grams of NaCl in 100 grams water, comma 2.87 grams of AgCl and 1.7 grams of NaNO3 were obtained. Verify law of conservation of mass. So this is the reaction: AgNO3 plus NaCl reacts with, so AgNO3 dissociates into Ag plus NO3 minus, NaCl dissociates into Na plus Cl minus. So the oppositely charged ions, they combine, forming AgCl precipitate plus NaNO3. This is a chemical reaction. The mass before reaction must be equal to mass after the reaction. So what we have initially, we have container, we have 100 grams of water. In this we are dissolving 3.4 grams of AgNO3. Another vessel, 100 grams water. In this we are dissolving 1.17 grams of NaCl. So when I mix these two, so 100 plus 100, you will have 200 grams of water plus 2.87 grams of AgCl grams of NaNO3. So total mass before reaction, so we have 3.4 grams of silver nitrate plus 100 grams water. Here we have 1.17 grams NaCl plus 100 grams of water. So you will get around 204.57 grams. Total mass after reaction, mass of the products 2.87 grams of AgCl plus 1.7 grams NaNO3 plus 200 grams of water. So you should get around same thing, 204.57 grams. Law of constant or definite proportions. It is proposed by Proust. Law of constant or definite proportions. So what it says, if I take a chemical substance, the molecule may contain 2 or more atoms. The substance or chemical component must contain same elements combined and in same mass ratio irrespective of the source from which it is obtained. If I take a chemical substance, same elements will be present in same mass ratio irrespective of the source. So let us see what is the meaning of this. Suppose I have collected a sample of rainwater. What is the chemical composition of water? H2O. We write H2O. Take some sample of water from your home. What is its chemical composition? You would write H2O. Or let us take sample of water from our college. It should be H2O. Irrespective of the source. First source is rainwater, second source say from municipal water or refined water, and here also some other refined water. Irrespective of the source, the chemical formula is same. That means the chemical composition is same. Here the mass ratio of hydrogen to oxygen is 2:16. Here also it is 2:16, 2:16. It contains same elements combined and in the same mass ratio. Let us see one more example. Carbon dioxide. You can prepare carbon dioxide by burning coal. You will get carbon dioxide. This is one source, burning of coal in air. The second one is decomposition of calcium carbonate. You will get carbon dioxide. Burning some fuel like methane gas. So in all these three cases, we have three different sources. One is burning coal, decomposition of CaCO3, combustion of methane. Irrespective of the source, carbon dioxide obtained contains same elements combined, that is carbon and oxygen, and in same mass ratio 12:32. Whether you take this CO2, this CO2 or this CO2, it doesn't matter. So what does law of constant or definite proportion explains? A chemical substance, a chemical compound always contains same elements combined and in same mass ratio. That means chemical composition remains constant and is independent of nature of the source. It got one limitation. This law is not applicable if the compound is prepared or obtained by using isotopes of an element. For example, a student has prepared carbon dioxide by taking C12 isotope. Another student has prepared carbon dioxide by taking C14 isotope. C12, C14, they are isotopes of carbon. What are isotopes? Already we have studied in the first topic, atomic structure. Atoms of same elements having same atomic number but different mass number. So if I use different isotopes of an element, mass number will be different. So what happens? In what mass ratio carbon and oxygen are combined here? 12:32. Here it is 14:32. So their mass ratio is not same. So this law is not applicable. This law is not applicable if the compound is obtained by using isotopes of an element. If I take isotopes of an element, then the mass ratio will not be same. And reverse. Elements elements combine in same mass ratio may give different products under different condition. Elements combine in same mass ratio will be same, but they may give different products, different compounds under different conditions. For example, let us assume carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. They combine to give ethyl alcohol, dimethyl ether. How many carbons? C2. How many hydrogens? 6. 1 oxygen. So they are present in 2 into 12, 24 is to 6 is to 16. Here also C2, 6 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. 24 is to 6 is to 16. So if I mix carbon, hydrogen, oxygen in 12 is to 3 is to 8 ratio, in this mass ratio, right, you may get ethyl alcohol, you may get dimethyl ether. They are different products. Although elements are combining in same mass ratio, but the products obtained may be different. So these are some limitations of law of constant or definite proportions. Let us go for the next law. Law of multiple proportions. So it is proposed by Dalton. So let us see the statement. Law of multiple proportions. If two elements can combine to form two or more products, if two elements can combine to form two or more products, then for fixed mass of one element, the mass ratio of other element combined may be expressed as simple ratio. Let us take one example to understand it in a better way. Carbon and oxygen, they combine to form two products. Two elements combine to form two or more products. Carbon and oxygen combine to form carbon monoxide, or you may get carbon dioxide. For fixed mass of one element, either carbon or oxygen, right. So in what mass ratio they are combining? Mass ratio. How many carbons we have? 1. What is its atomic mass? 12. How many oxygens we have? 1. What is its atomic ratio? Atomic mass? 16. So what is the mass ratio? 12 is to 16. How many carbons we have? 1. 1 into 12, 12. There are 2 oxygens. 2 into 16, 32. So this is the mass ratio of carbon and oxygen. For fixed mass of an element, I am fixing carbon because it is safe. For fixed mass of carbon, here I am taking 12 grams. The mass ratio of other element, what is the other element here? Oxygen, right? Mass ratio of other element combined. What is the mass ratio of other element combined here for fixed mass? 12, 12 same. Here it is 16 in the first compound. In the second compound, the mass ratio of oxygen is 32. The mass ratio of other element combined can be expressed as simple ratio. If I simplify it, what I will get? 1:2. So if two elements can combine to form two or more compounds, then for fixed mass of one element, I am fixing the mass of carbon, the mass ratio of other element combined. So here mass ratio of other element is 16, here it is 32. For fixed mass of carbon, the mass ratio of other element combined, that is 16:32, can be expressed as simple ratio. We can take number of example. Hydrogen and oxygen can combine to form two compounds H2O, H2O2. What is the mass ratio? 2:16, 2:32. For fixed mass of hydrogen, the mass ratio of oxygen can be expressed as simple ratio, that is 1:2. We have one better example, oxides of nitrogen. Nitrogen forms different oxide, N2O, NO, N2O3, N2O4, N2O5. So let us write the mass ratio. Two nitrogens. Atomic mass of nitrogen is 14 AMU. Two nitrogens, 2 into 14, 28. There is only one oxygen. Atomic mass of oxygen is 16. There is only one nitrogen, 14:1 oxygen, 16, or what I can write, 28:32. Here it is. 2 nitrogens, 2 into 14, 28:2. 3 into 16, 48. 2 into 14, 28. 4 into 16, 64. 28. 5 into 16, 80. For fixed mass of nitrogen, of an element, I am fixing the mass of nitrogen, said for 28 grams I am taking. The mass ratio of other element, what is the other element? Oxygen. What is its mass ratio? 16, here it is 32. Fixed mass 28, for 28 it will be 32, here it is 48, here it is 64, here it is 80. The mass ratio of oxygen is 16, oxygen combined is 16:32:48:64:18. Can be expressed as simple ratio 1:2:3:4:5. So this is the statement. Now again, if you use isotopes of an element, then the mass ratio might be different. So not applicable for compounds obtained by using isotopes. Let us go for next one. Law of reciprocal proportions. So it is also a little confusing. Right. If two elements can combine separately with a third element, then the mass ratio of first two elements combined with fixed mass of the third element may be equal to or may be expressed as simple ratio to the mass ratio of first two elements in a compound formed by their direct combination. So it is little confusing. Or let us take a simple example, right? We require three elements. I am taking three elements: hydrogen, sulfur, oxygen. Say this is first element, second element, third element. First element, second element, third element. If two elements can combine separately with the third element, first and second element can combine separately with third element. Hydrogen and sulfur, right? They can combine separately to form H2S. Oxygen can combine with hydrogen separately to form H2. First two elements can combine separately with third element. So sulfur combine with hydrogen to form H2S, oxygen combine with hydrogen to form water. Then the mass ratio of first two elements, with combined separately with fixed mass of hydrogen, fixed mass of third element. What is the mass ratio here? 12 is to 32. Here it is 12 is to 16. So mass ratio of hydrogen is same, that is 2. I am taking 2 grams. So sulfur combining hydrogen to form H2S, their mass ratio is 2 is to 32. Oxygen combined with hydrogen to form H2O, their mass ratio is 2 is to 16. For fixed mass of third element, here third element is hydrogen, here it is same. The mass ratio of sulfur and oxygen, what is the mass ratio of sulfur and oxygen? Here it is 32, here it is 16. May be equal, this mass ratio may be equal or can be expressed as simple ratio to the mass ratio of first two elements combined directly. Sulfur and oxygen, they combine to form SO2. Sulfur is 32, 2 into 16 is 32. This mass ratio, this ratio and this ratio may be expressed as simple ratio. If I simplify this, 2 is to 1, this is 1 is to 1. These two may be equal or can be expressed as simple ratio. Once again, if two elements can combine separately with a third element, then for fixed mass of third element, the mass ratio of first two elements combined, what is the mass ratio? 2, 32 is to 16, may be equal to or may be expressed as simple ratio to the mass ratio of first two elements combined directly to form a compound. Or let us take one more example. Sodium chlorine, first two elements, they combine separately with hydrogen to form sodium hydride HCl. So what is the mass ratio? 23 is to 1, 1 is to 35.5. For fixed mass of hydrogen, I am taking 1 gram. What is the mass ratio of sodium and chlorine here? Sodium and chlorine, 23 is to 35.5. This is the mass ratio of sodium and chlorine when combined with hydrogen, fixed mass of hydrogen. So when these two combine, they form NaCl. What is the mass ratio? 23 is to 35.5. These ratios may be equal, here it is equal, or can be expressed as simple ratio. That is the statement of law of reciprocal proportions. Law of gaseous volumes, nothing but Gay-Lussac's law, which we have studied in states of matter. So what it says? First point, this law is applicable only for those reactions which involve at least two gaseous components. So the reaction must involve at least two gaseous components. So what is the statement of the law? According to this law, the volume of gaseous reactants and volume of gaseous product may be expressed as simple ratio. The volumes of gaseous reactants and products may be expressed as simple ratio. What is the meaning of this? But volume is proportional to number of moles. So let us take some example. Haber's process, N2 gas plus 3H2 gas gives 2 moles of ammonia. All are gases. So according to the stoichiometry, how many moles of nitrogen we have? 1 mole, 3 moles, 2 moles. So instead of moles, I can express their composition in terms of volume, which is a simple ratio. 1 mole means 1 volume, of nitrogen combines with 3 volumes of hydrogen, 2 volumes of ammonia. Now what are the units of volume? Mainly you can express in liters, ml, that is up to you. That means if I take 1 liter of nitrogen, it combines with 3 liters of hydrogen to form 2 liters of ammonia. Or if I take 1 ml of nitrogen, it requires 3 ml of hydrogen to form 2 ml of ammonia. So you can express in terms of liters or ml. Everything must be in same units. Let us take one more example. CO plus half O2 gives CO2. CO2 is gas, oxygen is gas, CO is gas. So gaseous volumes according to this, one volume, nothing is there means one volume of CO combines with half volume of oxygen to form 1 volume of CO2. If volume is expressed in liters, 1 liter of CO requires half liter of oxygen to form 1 liter of CO2. Or if I express in ml, 1 ml of CO requires half ml of O2 to form 1 ml of CO2. You can write number of examples. H2 gas plus Cl2 gas gives 2HCl gas. So 1 volume of hydrogen combines with 1 volume of Cl2 to form 2 volumes of HCl. Or 1 liter of H2 requires 1 liter of Cl2 to form 2 liter of HCl. How much volume of oxygen will be required for complete combustion of 40 ml of acetylene, and how much volume of CO2 will be formed? So there are two questions. First, let us try to understand the meaning of combustion. In combustion, in simple language, is burning. We take a paper, we burn it, right? What is happening? The paper, which is contains carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, cellulose, it is converted into corresponding products. So burning is nothing but oxidation. Oxygen is essential. In chemical terms, combustion or burning means oxidation. So carbon, when it is oxidized, you may get carbon monoxide. But remember, complete combustion means it should be further converted into CO2. That means carbon is completely converted into completely oxidized. What is it? The maximum oxidation state plus 4. So when it combines with oxygen, you may get CO, CO2, but this is not completely oxidized form. This is partially oxidized form. Completely oxidized form is CO2. So in complete combustion, if you come across with carbon, it should be converted into CO2 because it is completely oxidized. It is present in its higher oxidation state. So carbon should be converted into carbon dioxide in the case of complete combustion. Similarly, hydrogen should be converted into water. We have carbon and hydrogen. You should never write CO in the case of complete combustion. CO is partially oxidized form of carbon. So what happens? First, we write the balanced equation. So acetylene C2H2, combustion means reaction with oxygen. What happens? In complete combustion, carbon should be converted into carbon dioxide. You have carbon, therefore first write carbon dioxide. You have hydrogen, therefore write water. Then balance carbon and hydrogen. At the last, you have to balance oxygen. Right. Now, combustion is defined for 1 mole of substance. So, you have to take only 1 mole of the substance. So, how many carbons we have here? 2 carbons. So, you will get 2 moles of CO2. Next. How many hydrogens? 2 hydrogens. Anyway, you got H2O. Now calculate total number of oxygens. 2 into 2, 4 oxygens plus 1, 5. We have 5 oxygen atoms. How many oxygen atoms? 5. 5 oxygen atoms are different, 5 moles of oxygen are different. How many oxygen atoms are there? 2 into 2, 4 oxygen atoms plus 1, 5 oxygen atoms, this one. But oxygen is written as O2. That means 2 atoms combine and exist as one molecule. So to get 5 oxygen atoms, if I write 5 here, 5 into 2 it becomes 10, but I require only 5. So I have to take 5 by 2 moles. If I write 1 O2, it contains 2 oxygen atoms. I require 5. So how many moles I have to take? I have to take 5 by 2. Right, anyway it is balanced now. See here, 1 volume, 5 by 2 volumes, because this is gas, this is gas, this is gas, anyway this is liquid, and 2 volumes for gases only. 1 volume of acetylene combines with 5 by 2 volumes of oxygen to give 2 volumes of carbon dioxide. Here volume is expressed in which units? See here carefully, ml. So everything should be in ml. That means 1 ml, 5 by 2 ml, you will get 2 ml. But what is given here? 40 ml of acetylene. We don't have 1 ml, we have 40 ml. For 1 ml you require 5 by 2 ml of oxygen. So for 1 ml of acetylene requires 5 by 2 ml of O2. But we have how much? 40 ml of acetylene. So what you will get? 40 into 5 by 2 by 1. So you will get 100 ml of oxygen. Similarly, 1 ml gives 2 ml of CO2. 1 ml of acetylene produces 2 ml of CO2. How much we have actually? 40 ml. How much? Cross multiply. 40 into 2 you will get 80 ml of CO2. So 100 ml of O2 is required and 80 ml of CO2 is produced.
ఇంటర్మీడియట్ విద్యారంగంలో అగ్రగామి మన ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్. ఐఐటి జేఈఈ అయినా నీట్ అయినా తిరుగులేని విద్యా సంస్థ ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్.